New Artist Spotlight Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the New Artist Spotlight Podcast. I am Wilko Wilkes.
Wilko Wilkes, remember the name.
I am Big OG, you know me, Origin Cross, and we are back again for another episode of the New Artist Spotlight Podcast.
Yeah, and every week we get some great guests on. We learn stuff from them about how their career's going and see if we can get some insight. Really excited to have this guest on today who I know me and Origin are both fans of his music. So welcome to the show, Dominic Delaney. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah, living life.
Nice.
So tell us about yourself then.
Yeah, so I'm a singer-songwriter from a place called Lake Worth, Florida, here in the States. And I've been playing music under my own name again since about 2018. And I do this thing where I count every show that I've played. Last night was show number 289, which was pretty cool.
Is that
and
it? Only 289. That's not really good, isn't it?
Yeah, the few years of a pandemic threw a wrench in that for a while.
Yeah, that's right.
But you know, yeah. So it's been 289. I had an album come out last year called "The Marrow in My Bones," which was kind of my first full-length album. And then September 16th is when my second album, For Life, comes out. And yeah, I'm super stoked about it.
Sweet. So, little backstory. I know it, Wilko knows it, you might not know it, but I think you were already booked on the show. But I was looking for people that whose music was really, really good. So I'm going through the list and I'm trying to pick my favorites. And I'm like, let me just listen to the Apple list. So this, you and another guest that we'll have on soon, I'm like, okay, these guys are good. We gotta hurry up and get them on here. And I hit a Wilko yo, we gotta get this person on here. And I gave him a list and put my top 5 on there and I'm like, get these people. And he's like, well, I think Dominic Delaney's already booked. Okay, sweet.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, that just worked out really great.
Yeah, and obviously I'm a big fan of your music as well, man. Yeah, I remember listening through them. I was like, yeah, this guy's the best. I think I said you were the best on that list. It's good, man. You sound like a full band, but are you? Or is it all just you?
So in the recordings, they're full band. And with the first album I put out, The Marrow in My Bones, that was an album that we made in the middle of the lockdown era. And so for that album, it was a lot of, Zoom calls and emails to produce it. And so with that one was put out by a label, and I had mixed feelings about it, working with a label, and kind of it became a situation of too many cooks in the kitchen in the end. But the album came out and it was a lot of session players that I never got a chance to meet, simply because we were all told to not leave our house. And so that album came out, and immediately I wanted to tour it, but touring wasn't really allowed yet. And it started to come back a little bit, and I put together a full band, and we did a few shows, and then we were told, no, you can't do that yet. I'm like, okay. And so we went back into the house for another year. And that's when this second album was written. And I knew that I wanted to move away from the Zoom production, just because, growing up, I'd always imagined creating a record, sitting in a room with a bunch of your friends and, just going over how 15 seconds of music is going to sound, and thinking about that for 3 hours or something. So this time around, that's what I was able to do. I had my buddy Ricky Bobby, who is the lead singer of a band called The Shake. He's actually also my drummer. He produced this album, and then we had a bass player by the name of Rocky Rucker play on the album as well. And then I covered the lead and acoustic guitar parts. But live, we also have a lead player named Billy Doom. And yeah, so we do have a band.
Can I just ask, are these the real names of your band members?
Yeah.
Dude, no, come on, bro. I had to,
Yeah.
I was waiting, bro.
Billy's last name, to be honest, I have no idea. So we just call him Billy Doom. I have no idea what his last name is at this point.
But let's go back to Ricky.
Yeah,
Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
that
his
Talladega
name.
Nights?
There's
Yeah.
like a whole song named after him.
Yeah, exactly. And then Rocky Rucker is his real name as well.
It's a rock star name if I've ever heard that.
We didn't believe him. We had to ask him to see his ID, and sure enough, it says Rocky Rucker right on it. And so, yeah, I ended up with not only the best musicians, but the best named musicians as well.
True. I mean, that's like, we have Ed Eagle. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fake sounding real names going around, I guess.
Yeah, I get asked every now and again if mine's a stage name, and it's not. It's just what I was named. And whenever my dad kind of gives me a little bit of hassle about doing this as a job, I kind of tell him, like, you named me this, man. Like, you created this monster.
It's all on you, Pops.
Yeah, exactly.
So, when I listen to music, I kind of get the vibes of like when I was younger and I would like watch movies on cable, like on demand, and then like when they would go off, they'd always have like the soundtracks playing during the credits, and like I would like be playing air guitar like all over the floor underneath the table, and like your music like brings me back to that like point in my life. So like, what are your influences? Where did you get that style from?
So there's an artist actually in the UK, Wilko, named Frank Turner. And Frank has been a huge inspiration. I arguably talk about him too much. One of the coolest things I learned about Frank was like his DIY ethos. One of my favorite things he said was, if you want a tour, go book one. And that was revolutionary for me. I was like, oh my God, you could do that. But his songwriting is really, storytelling based, and it's driven by the acoustic guitar, even though a lot of these arrangements have a punk rock feel. So that was definitely high on my list as inspiration. And then there's other bands in the UK. There's a band called Biffy Clyro. Biffy Clyro is a big influence on me. Frightened Rabbit from Scotland. Bands like the Menzingers, kind of just a background in punk, but lyrics were also always very important to me. So that's kind of where I got that style. And we were actually just in Austin, Texas a couple weeks ago playing a show, and someone came up to me and was like, I love your guitar playing. And I kind of just was responding like, I'm just doing the best I can. Like, I really am not the most proficient guitar player. But what I was told, and something I'd never thought about, was that I play my acoustic guitar like you would an electric guitar. And I never really thought about it. And ever since that person said that, I can't stop thinking about it, because, with your electric guitar, you could do a lot of palm muting to get like that low end sound out of it. And when I write these songs, and very early on in my career, I didn't have a band. So if I wanted that noise, I had to figure out how to do it myself. And that just kind of happened and blossomed into the style that I play now. So, and also, like, I always get the question of like, what type of genre do you play? And it's a hard question for me, because I don't know. So what I've been going with for about a year now is I play campfire punk rock. So it's just punk rock, just with an acoustic guitar.
I like that, man. I mean, it sounded a little bit emo to me. Like, it sort of reminded me of, I can't remember what they're called, but there's, do you know a song called Keep On Bringing Me Down?
Oh, man. It sounds familiar.
It's a good song anyway, but yeah, I was quite surprised when he said Frank Turner and Biffy Clyro, but I can sort of hear that as well. And you've got a very distinctive voice as well. So I think you don't need to worry too much about genre, man. You just keep doing you. And if you do loads of gigs and stuff like that, then people will see you anyway.
Right.
and they can make their mind up. So that's cool, man. And yeah, just before we actually got Origin on the call, I was talking to you and you were saying, I asked you what you do for a living, and you said this is it full time. So I wanted to ask you about that, and like, how do you find it? And you mentioned your dad giving you some kickback and stuff like that. How do you balance it all? And you tell me about it.
Well, first of all, I remember once telling my dad as a kid, I told him, Dad, this is what I want to do. I want to be a singer. And I remember him going, yeah, maybe a background singer. So he wasn't necessarily, it's not that he wasn't supportive. He was just kind of a very pessimistic realist. But these days he got me a shirt that says world's okayest guitar player. And I think in his way, that is him showing me support. So I'll take it. As far as doing this for a job, I mean, it took a long time to kind of find my place in that. At first, when I started playing shows again, I was actually working at an ice rink. I grew up playing hockey, so I was coaching hockey. I was like driving the Zamboni and all that stuff. And it just became the type of thing that it had pretty bad management at that rink. And it turned what should have been a dream job into something I resented. And I had to leave. And it took a long time to even kind of be interested at all in hockey again after that. But when I left, it was kind of like, okay, well, this is it. It's now or never. And I was pretty aware of that right away and knew that, if I was ever going to have a shot to do this, this was going to be it. And so that's when I put out my first EP by myself, which was to date, it's the only actually just acoustic EP that I have out, or any sort of recorded music that I have out. And from that, I was able to start getting booked on some small shows, normally playing like 20 to 30 minute sets, and starting to kind of create some sort of buzz and some sort of fan base. And from there, I knew I always wanted to have full band production of the songs. And we were right about to get it all set up, and then the pandemic happened. And at that time, I was still having a day job. I worked at a dog facility where pretty much we just watched people's dogs during the day, which was great because it was an easy job. I love dogs, but I travel so much that it's not really fair to have one. So I get to be like everybody else's dog's cool uncle. But it after the pandemic, I'd started to build these connections, and through doing some different charity shows and live stream shows and stuff over the pandemic, I started to create connections where I was able to have a consistent performance schedule. And that was just the biggest thing, was, having at least enough shows to be able to say, okay, well, I paid my bills with these shows. Now I can start and book the more adventurous shows, the ones I'm going to take a chance on and stuff like that. So, and it's not perfect. There's some months where it's like waiting for the phone to ring, like, man, I need somebody to book me for this month, or my phone's getting shut off, stuff like that. And then, apart from, shows is where I make the majority of my money. But merch is huge. I've got a couple of shirt designs. I got stickers. I do still sell CDs. The new album's going to come out on vinyl, which I'm really excited for. But yeah, as great as it is to do well on the streaming services, the fact is, they just don't pay too much. And it's an ongoing battle. I think it'll probably be an ongoing battle for the foreseeable future. But I always preach to people, if you want to support an artist directly, buy their merch. Just buy their merch, go to a show, tell your friends, tell your local promoter to bring them out, because that's how you can help these guys make a living and be able to continue to do more projects.
I have like 3 questions. So
Let's go.
I'm gonna try to make it. First of all, you're over 200 shows in, and for a lot of artists, getting booked for shows is one thing, but getting booked for shows that is actually paying them is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So, well, one, how long have you been doing this?
Mhm.
Two, since you do this, this is your job. Like, where are you hoping to take this? Like, how big are you trying to get? Like, what do you want to do with this? And three, like, how did you get into the scene where it was profitable?
Right.
Just like you going and hoping that somebody notices you.
Right. Well, firstly, so to talk about you know, how to get booked and how to get paying shows. I'm pretty lucky that I had a lot of musicians here in my music community that kind of took me under their wing and explained it to me, because I played a couple free shows, and someone kind of pulled me to the side and explained to me that if you're playing for free, you're hurting the economy for all of us. And it's something that, I've passed down to younger musicians now as I've seen them come in, because if it's kind of like a community-wide agreement that we're not playing for free, that we've all got stuff to pay, even if this isn't your full-time career, you are coming and you are providing a service, you deserve to be paid. And that's something that even I carry that mentality from musicians to vendors that come out to events and stuff like that. If you are coming out and providing a service, you should be paid. Now, there are, I wouldn't say exceptions to the rule, but there's rare circumstances where, there might be a touring band coming into town that you've always wanted to open up for. And to play that show, you have to sell a certain amount of tickets. Those types of things happen. My biggest advice for that is to not overpromise what you can do. That's a big thing. A lot of people like to kind of puff their chest out and say what they can deliver, and they can't. And that never looks good, and that hurts your longevity as a career. And if you can't sell the 50 tickets or whatever, you'll get there, but you're not going to be able to get there if you immediately say that you can do it and then you don't deliver on that. So, that was the biggest thing. The biggest lessons for me were being told, like, hey, like, we don't play for free. There's, if it's a charity show, a benefit show for something that's important, that's a little bit different. But as far as your standard Friday night in downtown, you should be being paid, especially if you're playing for more than an hour. Getting into like a profitable position really didn't start until I started making merch. And merch helped, because I was getting paid from the shows. But then you have expenses, you have your new guitar strings, you have to upgrade your gear because now you're playing in bigger places. The gas to get places, which recently has been awful. So a lot of that still costs money, and you have to balance that out. That's where personally, like, touring is great because you can kind of budget everything literally based on the miles, like from venue to venue. It's 1,000 miles. It's going to cost me this much to get there. And that's how you can really budget a profitable tour. But, it's not always easy. And a lot of people think of like a rock and roll fantasy life of, gold encrusted hotel rooms with ladies of the night coming by at all hours. And it's really not always that. I mean, I guess it might be for some people, but it's certainly not for me. As far as where I'd want to go, from here, the dream was always to be able to pay my bills by playing music. I remember on the very first DIY tour I did, we went all the way up from Florida to Chicago and back. I think I did 18 dates on that. And I remember we were someone had let us crash at their house that night. And they asked me, they're like, do you want to be famous? And to me, that's a very loaded question. Like, do I want to be on the cover of People magazine? No. Do I want paparazzi outside my house? Absolutely not. You know, I prefer my privacy, but you know, I just want to be able to support myself, support my family, feed my cats. You know, that's the dream. And from there, you know, I'm a huge fan of traveling. I love history. So touring is possibly one of my favorite things on the planet. We've got a tour coming up for the new album that I'm extremely excited about. We're already planning some tours for next year as well. And that's kind of just the goal. And as far as like growth, I would like to keep growing in venue size. That's always cool, you know. But yeah, as far as like any sort of fame, that doesn't necessarily interest me more. And that goes back to longevity. Like I would much rather have the longevity of a slow burn artist than these quick flames that, you know, you see in the tabloids.
That answer always interests me when artists say, like, you know, I want to be successful, but I don't necessarily want to be famous. So I mean, you said you always want to be able to pay your bills, right? So I guess a weird way of asking the question is, what kind of bills do you want to have, right? Like,
Right.
Like, what do you like? Obviously, you know, the intrusiveness of fame is a definite like con, right? But I mean, to grow in venue size and things like that is to be known by more people.
Right.
So, are you saying you want to be a like an opening or like a mid-card act for bigger artists, or do you want to be the artist?
Yeah, I'd like to, you know, I think everybody would like to eventually be the headliner, you know, and, you know, going back to Frank Turner for a minute, like he, you know, his first few tours, he was opening up for bands alone, kind of how I was for a long time, and still am. And, you know, then he headlined Wembley, you know, and to me, like, I don't really consider Frank to be famous. I mean, of course, he has that level of millions of people know about him and stuff, but it's never been that like unregulated hype, essentially. You know, there's never been that feeling of going to a Frank Turner show to appear cool. You know, you go because you love the music, and that's something I'd like to dodge. You know, I feel like there's a lot of people, like, especially down here in Florida, I've seen it because I know most of the promoters down here, and, you know, like I saw them, they were just booking people based off of their TikTok videos. You know, like it had nothing to do with the music. It had everything to do with their TikTok content. And I understand content is king. And I get it. And I get the mentality of it. And the shows sell out. And that's, you know, in a promoter's world, that's what matters. For me, you know, I would rather kind of continue on the track I'm on, as opposed to that. So, you know, yeah, I would like to be a headliner one day. But at the same time, I'm very comfortable anywhere on the slot. You know, as long as I'm playing my show, I'm going to give it 100%. So that's what always matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, you live in the dream in many ways. Do you find, like, I've always thought about if I went full time, and it's something I've been thinking about more recently because I've been starting to do like rap workshops with kids, and then that's sort of paying not too bad, to be fair.
Right.
And I enjoy it more. I get more fulfillment out of it. But the one thing that sort of I thought of is that you're going to be dictated, like what you do is going to be dictated by whether you can make money out of it. Do you find that at all? Do you find you having to worry about that, and sort of like you maybe have a bit less time for all your creative activities than you would like because you sort of having to chase where the money is? And also another secondary question from me too, on your tours, like, are you booking are you working with a promoter who's like getting you into 18 venues at a time or whatever, or are you having to contact every venue and chase all these different shows, etc.?
Yeah, so as far as the time, you know, expenditure, it is something that I've had to get better with. I wasn't really great at keeping like a schedule of things. these days I'm a lot better about it. I actually have 2 different calendar apps, one for personal and one for work. And, you know, it's great when you see those days starting to get filled up with shows. And it is also worrisome to some extent because especially like, you know, like with tours. So say we're going on tour, we've got 14 shows lined up. I could fall tomorrow and break my elbow, and that's 2 weeks of pay I'm going to lose at minimum, you know. And that's something that I do think of quite a bit. I used to skateboard a lot, and some of my friends kind of still try and get me out there, and I tell them I just can't afford to at this point in my life, you know, unless I'm bubble wrapped, I'm not coming to the skate park. And so yeah, I mean, but I think it's important, regardless of if you're in music or if you're working in any sort of career field, to be able to take that time for yourself to, if it's songwriting, if it's painting, even if it's watching specific TV shows, you need to have that personal time in any aspect of life. So it's not that it's changed, but it's definitely been more focused on that since I've been doing this. And you know, I do like to kind of have those days where the phone goes off, the laptop's closed, and like I'm just in my world and not being bothered by anything. And you know, these past couple of weeks with the album coming out and the tour coming up, I haven't really had one of those. But it's a sacrifice that you make for these type of adventures. And so as far as the tour, no, we didn't work with a promoter who was able to book the whole tour. Me and the leader of the Shake, Ricky, who is my drummer, when we started planning this tour, I was kind of brought into it. You know, Ricky knew how much I loved the tour, and I was brought into it as the opening act for them. And I was excited. I was like, yes, my album's coming out then. Like, it'll be perfect. I'll see you guys in September when we leave. And about maybe 2 or 3 months ago, Ricky kind of called me and was like, I need help, like, booking these shows. And I've booked my own tours before. And I didn't want to step on anybody's toes being brought into the project when I was. So I wasn't going to just jump into booking shows. But when he asked me, I was ready. I have a list in my phone of venues in cities across the country. And that list is starting to now include Canada as well. Like, it's just, if I see a band that's at about my level and they're posting their flyer, I'm taking down the name of every single one of those venues. And then it's the tedious bit of reaching out to all of them. And I think in that first day after Ricky asked me, I sent about 1,000 emails, and it was like that for about 2 months. My Google storage hates me, but it's what needs to be done. And that's where a lot of people, you know, think that touring is this impossible feat, and it's really not. It's all about your work ethic and how bad you want it. Because at an eventual point, it becomes a numbers game. You could email 1,000 people and 999 will say no or maybe not even respond. But if that one person says yes, you won. Like, you won the game. And so that's what we did. And we did it for 14 dates. And, you know, we're going to some states that, you know, I've never been to, like, in my own country. And that's amazing to me. Like, I don't think I've ever set foot in Washington, D.C., our capital, you know, and we get to go play a punk show there. And that's awesome. So, yeah, it would be great to have a promoter to be able to do all of that. But it's tough. It's tough to find one that's good and that can get the, you know, the problem with tours is it's hard to get a guarantee price if you've never been to a place, and that's fair enough. So typically on some shows, you'll have to do door splits. And door splits are great when you can sell the place out. So that's where some of the tactics that we use when we're booking a tour like this, if we know we're doing a door split, we find a band in that local area that we know has a crowd pull. And we book them as the headliner, essentially. And so we book them, they pull out their crowd. And then we're big believers and supporters of a music community that's welcoming, because I think that's a lot of fear for a lot of younger up and coming musicians, is that like they're scared to ask for favors and stuff like that. And, we're all trying to be able to do this. So the way we see it is, if you get us a show, or if you even play on a show with us in your state, we owe you a show. So you come down to Florida, we'll put it together. Like, we'll make it happen. So that helps a lot with those door splits. The other thing that we do to keep the tour profitable is we'll stretch out our guaranteed shows. So say if we have, we've got 4 shows that are door splits, but we got a 5th show that's a guarantee. Then we got another 4 that are door splits, but we got another 5th show that's a guarantee. That way we can kind of budget the gas. We can budget, our lodging and stuff like that. So this tour is actually the first tour that I've ever done where we're not going to be in a van. We actually got a sponsor for an RV, which is really cool. I don't think I've ever been allowed to step on an RV. So come Wednesday will be the first time that I've ever been in one. So I'm pretty excited for that too.
That's awesome. And I think you just dropped a gem. You said that even though it's your tour, you don't have to headline all the shows.
Yeah.
Bring out somebody that is big where you're going, let them be the headliner.
Mm-hmm.
You get their crowd. Like,
yeah.
I think for anybody who was ever thinking about booking a tour who's not done it before, or even if you've done it and you didn't think of that, like, that is a big piece of information. Andres, you need to cut that up and make that part a clip. That is genius. I've never thought of that. So we're going to talk about, we're going to play one of your songs. But first, I wanted to ask you about your experience with New Artist Spotlight and how you found the community since you've been a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, New Artist Spotlight has been great to me. From, the first time I had a song on the playlist to today when, my album's coming out and people are pre-saving it and, sending me congratulations that it's coming out and stuff like that. And it goes back to saying, one of the things that I'm interested in, that my band is interested in, that the Shake is interested in, is a supportive music community. The price of admission is enthusiasm. And that's something that I found in New Artist Spotlight as well, is that this music community is welcoming and kind and supportive of each other. And that's completely something I'm all for. I've been a member for probably close to maybe just a little more than 6 or 7 months now. And, I think that it's, Ed Eagle he created something magical here with this group of people, because I think it's opened opportunities for so many of us, and not even necessarily like, relating to streams or anything like that, like just opportunities of working with each other, collaborating, doing podcasts, just so many different opportunities in such a supportive community that it's a really special thing.
Couldn't agree more, mate. Yeah. So Dominic, which of your songs would you like us to play today? Do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, I think we'll actually go with an older song. This one is what's actually on the NAS playlist these days right now. It's a song called Broken Finger. And this song was one of the first ones I wrote for my Chubby EP. And after this song, I kind of steered away for a little bit of the comedic writing. And I was a little arrogant, I was like, oh, people are gonna put me into the same category as Weird Al if I keep making these comedy songs. But then I humbled myself a little bit and just kind of realized that I'm a guy, I enjoy being tongue-in-cheek a lot of the time. I don't take many things seriously. So I've gone back to that a little bit, not too much, but here and there, I don't mind having a song that's a little funny. And Broken Finger is a true story of at the time, I was still trying to make this a full-time thing. And I picked up a job at a metal factory and learned very quickly that I do not belong near power tools. I broke my finger on the third day. And as I said, I do count my shows, and this happened show number 99. And I had show 100 scheduled, and I had to play it. So I just kind of grabbed some tape and like taped the splint on the finger and played the show anyway. And that's how the song was born. And it's still requested these days, so I'm going to keep playing it.
That's awesome, man. Do you want to do the honors of introducing it?
Yeah, so this is my song Broken Finger on the New Artist Spotlight.
Well, I can play my guitar with a broken finger, and I know that choice might make the pain linger more than it would if I was just a singer. It's me and my guitar and my broken finger. Me and my guitar and my broken finger. Pain comes and goes, hurts after shows, hurts in the morning and wherever I go. I don't like painkillers, and right now that blows. The doctor said to leave it alone, but I said I could play my guitar with a broken finger. And I know that choice might make the pain linger more than it would if I was just a singer. But it's me and my guitar and my broken finger. Me and my guitar and my broken finger. Right now I'm working as hard as I can, but I'm pretty useless without my right hand. If it looks like I'm giving you the bird, understand. It's got its own mind, yeah, it's got its own plan. But I can play my guitar with a broken finger. And I know that choice might make the pain linger more than it would if I was just a singer. But it's me and my guitar and my broken finger. Me and my guitar and my broken finger. Well, my buddy Mitch got me the job, and I'm honestly lucky that my finger's not gone. It was crushed by the weight of the world and mother-in-laws. Well, I think that it's time to move on. Well, a prescription for Jameson is all that I need. If I had extra money, I'd get some fire-ass weed. Well, thank you, my friends, for coming to see what my broken finger has done to me. What my broken finger has done to me. But I can play my guitar with a broken finger. And I know that choice might make the pain linger more than it would if I was just a singer. But it's me and my guitar and my broken finger. Me and my guitar and my broken finger.
Sweet. Thanks for letting us play that song. Really good song, man. So you do a lot of shows, you got a lot of shows already planned. So tell us, any good stories you got from any of your performances, anything entertaining or crazy that you've experienced.
Oh man, I've got loads. We could be here for hours.
Tell us one, maybe two.
Yeah, I'll trim it down to two good ones. Just recently, September 10th, was the first time that I was able to do a full band show again. And you know, I had a lineup at the beginning of the year and towards the end of the whole lockdown era and stuff. And you know, it was fun with that lineup. Life happens, and my guitar and bass player decided to move on. So I was on the hunt for a new guitar and bass player, and I found a great bass player, Rocky Rucker, that we spoke of earlier. And you know, I've known him for years, and he played on the album, the upcoming album. And I knew that he had it. My drummer, Ricky, stayed the same. But my guitar player, Billy, you know, we had scheduled our practices and stuff, and he plays in quite a lot of bands, and some things came up and he couldn't make one practice. I was like, oh, all right, we'll get you next time. So the second practice comes around, and this is maybe a few days before the show, and he calls me. He's like, my wife, like, I got to go pick her up. I'm so sorry. Like, I can't make it to practice, but I'll be ready for the show. And I was just like, okay, man. So long story short, I met the guy 4 hours before the show and was pretty much told, hey, like, come by my warehouse, you know, and I'll show you the parts. I fully expected that I was going to have to show up, teach the guy all the guitar parts, and then hope the show went well. I showed up and he knew everything. He played through flawlessly. And even to some extent, he was like, yeah, this is played this way, but it's a lot easier if it's played this way. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And so then we went and we played the show 3 hours later, and it went off amazing. It was hands down one of my favorite shows I've ever played. And yeah, so that was pretty much Billy Doom's audition for my band, and it was amazing. He was so professional and the nicest guy, so that was awesome. And then, you know, some of my other favorite stories, it's always the traveling shows, because you know, I'm an experience-based writer. A lot of my songs come from real experiences that I go through, and I feel like when you're on the road, there's so many experiences happening every single day, and so it just gives you more material to pick from. One of the songs that we didn't get to record it proper, it's on the upcoming album, but it's actually a live version that was recorded in New Orleans at a show. And I was touring with The Shake. I was opening for them on a different tour, and we were supposed to play in this place called Tarpon Springs. And so if that last story was a good one, this is the other side. We're playing in a place called Tarpon Springs at a place called Neptune Lounge. And the guy on the phone, the owner of the place, was super excited for the show. He wanted, you know, to meet us and all this stuff. And when we showed up to the venue, it was like something in his head had switched, and it was like we met a different person, and it was the same person that we spoke to. It was to the point that we were in the alleyway during what should have been load-in time, and we called him like, hey man, we're here, we're ready to set up. And he said, yeah, I'll be there in a minute. About 30 minutes later, he comes out, just angry, just like angry at the world for being round. And immediately was just asking us questions like, how many people did you bring? We're like, dude, we're on tour. Like, we've got like maybe 9 people that followed us on this tour, but we don't know. It was a pretty tense situation inside the room, and he was kind of just making it more awkward. And what kind of pushed everybody over the edge was he's standing at the bar and kind of threw his hands up and just goes, what a waste of a night. And we were all just standing there like, this is awful. Like, either we are going to play this show, this guy's definitely not going to be happy, he's definitely not going to pay us, or we leave. And this was like the first long tour that I had done with The Shake, and this was a real team building moment. Is we kind of all looked at each other and you said, you know, like, screw this, like, let's go. Nobody deserves to be treated this way. So we all agreed and we left. Now this did cause a bit of a problem for my mathematical thing of scheduling or of counting my shows, because I have already scheduled show 300. And so show has to happen this night. So again, long story short, in 15 minutes, we walked around this city that none of us had ever been, found a venue that would let us play and had their own sound and ended up paying us. And that was one of the biggest achievements that I think I've ever had. Because even fast forwarding back to New Orleans, we were driving 12 hours to get there. And when we were 4 hours out, we get an email that the show is canceled. And at first everyone's panicking and then we're like, wait. We booked the show in 15 minutes. We've got 15 hours. Like, we're fine. And sure enough, the same thing happened again in New Orleans too. So things will work out as long as you guys just keep it cool.
That's great, man. Yeah, I love that. It's a nice moral as well. How do you actually go about getting fans to a gig that you're playing so like 1,200 miles from home? I mean, presumably not a lot of people will know you in that city. How do you go about getting people down? It's pretty tough. There's some, you can only rely on a promoter so much. And that's nothing against promoters. Like, they are a necessary part of the music ecosystem. Luckily we've been pretty well off with the promoters that we work with. It goes back to having good local support, and not always having them as the support. If that local band is going to draw more than you are, they're the headliner, not you. And so there's that. That's a great way to kind of juke the system a little bit. And another thing is boots on the ground will always help when it comes to promoting a show, and not from a promoter, but from like a fan or a friend. And that's where, the more we tour, the more we'll announce dates and we get messages from people where they're like, oh, I have a sister in Philadelphia. You're going to be there. And it's like, great, tell her to bring all of her friends, because, there have been times we've played to one person before, or we've played to two people. And we'll still give it 100%, but it's definitely better for everybody if there's more people. So that's kind of just an occupational hazard. You're going to run into shows like that. I definitely think the way to avoid that is always having good local support, and then also good venues, like that venue I was just talking about, Neptune Lounge. He's so worried that how many people we're bringing, because he knows his bar doesn't bring any people. You're going to play places like that too. And it's just something that the more you do it, the more you learn. Like now, next time we book a Florida West Coast tour, Neptune Lounge isn't even on our radar. Like, that guy's not worth our time of day. We'd rather go to a city, maybe one city north, and play somewhere else, play somewhere that has some buzz around it. Because we had great local support for that show that would have brought people, but the owner kind of made that a situation where it wasn't doable. So yeah, it's definitely always an occupational hazard. And if you're going to do this for a living, you're going to play some shows to one person. You might play shows to the bar staff. It happens. But local support is always going to be huge.
I was going to ask, with that show that got canceled and then rescheduled or just moved, I guess, were you guys able to kind of alert your fans that like change of plans were moving? Or did you just you were?
Yeah, we were, because, at that time, because we were there when we were supposed to be. We were there for load in, which was supposed to be an hour before doors opened at the venue. With how long it took for the guy to just open the doors for us to bring our stuff in, it was about 30 minutes till doors, and our friends started to show up, and we're still loading stuff in, which, even they kind of knew was out of the ordinary, because typically they don't see us until they get in the venue. And they kind of knew that something was up, and unfortunately they were present for a lot of the antics of this owner. And so they kind of saw us, like we wanted to put the show on for them, especially since they came across the state for us. But we had to make a moral decision there. And I think I'm very proud with our decision that we all agreed that we're not playing here. We're not dealing with this guy. And I think they understood. And then they saw how hard we worked to get that show in 15 minutes, that's the quickest I've ever gotten the show. And so that kind of rallied everybody. Everybody was extremely vivid that night. We were all just kind of buzzing over this like victory of like conquering the crappy venue owner. So fine, so yeah. But yeah, we definitely got to let them know, and we ended up playing at a different place that was just fantastic, and had their own customer poll. They had their own crowd that was coming, and then they got treated to a free show because we didn't charge the door or anything. So it worked out.
That's awesome, man. There's a lot of lessons in there about resilience and not giving up. So something else that you'll need a lot of resilience for is the new artist spotlight famous quick fire 5. Have you seen it before? Do you know the rules?
I don't.
That's okay, man. The rules are that you get no more than 15 seconds to answer each question. So it's a quick fire 5. We're going to give you some questions that might be tough, but the time you'll be up against the clock. So do you think you can handle it?
I think I got it.
Okay. Well, let's try. Question 1. What is your favorite song from the new artist spotlight playlists?
I gotta go with my boys, The Shake. They've got Fire on there, and it's a great, great song.
Question 2. What song would you most like to be played at your funeral?
There's a song by Frank Turner called Get Better, where the lyric is, we could get better because we're not dead yet. And I think that would be kind of funny. So I'll go with Get Better.
That's awesome, man. Question 3. If you could pick any other artist on the planet's voice to have as your own voice, who would you pick?
Probably Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro. He's got just like this amazing range of scream and then melodic singing that I would absolutely kill to have.
What is your favorite song of all time?
Oh man, that is a tough one. Favorite song of all time. All right, 15 seconds. I'm gonna go with "I Am Disappeared" by Frank Turner. It's a song about touring. It's a song about having to leave home, and something that I've had on my repeat for the past couple of years. So that'll probably be it.
Awesome, man. And question 5. If you could spend a day with any other NAS artist, who would you pick?
Who would I pick? Probably Ed Eagle. I want to hang out with him. He seems like a badass.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, you did pretty well there, man. You were one of the first contestants on the Quickfire 5 for several weeks not to mess it up. So
yes,
congratulations, man. You haven't been banned.
Yes. I'll expect my trophy in the mail.
There's no trophy, mate.
Aw.
Expectations in one hand, reality in the other. Something's got to win. Yeah, man, it has been good having you on, man. This was a really good conversation. Thanks for coming on, spending some time with us.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for having me. And like I said, this whole community has just been so supportive, and it's always a blast to be able to chat about it with others. So thank you guys again so much for having me.
You want to take the time, let everybody know where they can find you on socials and stream?
Yeah. So it's just Dominic Delaney on Spotify, Apple, Deezer. If it's on the internet, I'm on it. Instagram, just Dominic Delaney. Facebook, Dominic Delaney. Twitter, Delaney Dominic, because when I was 10, I made a Dominic Delaney and then I forgot the password. So, and then I have my own website, dominicdelaney.com. The new album comes out September 16th. It's called For Life. It'll be everywhere. And it'll also be on vinyl soon enough. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, yeah, thanks for coming. Big thanks to everybody who's listening as well, or watching, or supporting New Artist Spotlight in any way. We appreciate you, and we'll see you all soon.
New Artist Spotlight Pod.